When the cool moon of a late 19th century Vienna night slants across the stone steps of the Institute of Physics, overgrown with pale green lichen, the air is suffused with a faint scent of amber and the crisp bitterness of night mist. Within a chamber shrouded by heavy, dark velvet curtains, where the distant rumble of horse-drawn carriages fades into silence, a man with a gaze reflecting a profound perception of the world's solitude quietly spreads his empty hands. He is not plotting to conquer social galas. Instead, within his mind, sharpened into an acute instrument by long observation of microscopic particles, he repeatedly contemplates the universe's philosophical metaphor of decay. This sage has witnessed all the wildest fissions of the classical era of mechanical determinism, yet what he craves most now is a return to that initial primal logic untouched by prejudice. He is Ludwig Boltzmann, the founder of statistical mechanics, an intellectual sentinel who chose persistence at the zenith of truth, exiling himself within endless calculations for decades. Tonight, amidst the gently flickering firelight and this story you need not strive to remember, let us walk into his true life. While later ages would deem him a tragic hero of science, in life, during these silent nights, he quietly made peace with the sense of estrangement that was his destined companion. Facing the brutal sieges of Mach and Ostwald and an era's indifference to atomism, he did not choose vociferous defense. Rather, beneath a dying lamp, he mended the ultimate dream within his heart, a dream of order, reality, and redemption. This is a story of how restraint bursts forth with power, and how loneliness transforms into nobility. Ludwig Boltzmann's beginning lacked the typical clamor of scientific dynasties. Instead, it was a steady undertone woven from rigorous logical constraints and an intense yearning for order amidst the deep gray bureaucratic shadows of Vienna. As a youth born into the city of reason and naturally hailed as a mathematical prodigy, he inherited a microworld that was chillingly austere, preoccupied with the interplay between macroscopic laws and microscopic randomness. In the Austria of that time, morning bells echoed with the resonance of classical music. In the corners of libraries reddened by hearth fires, he learned to use his vision to pierce through the essential structures behind every thermal phenomenon. Young, brilliant, and possessing an intellectual arrogance that drew stares from his peers, he rejected superficial socialization in the public square, turning instead to the embrace of volumes filled with natural laws, the philosophy of probability, and the statutes of energy, using them to measure the soul's breadth. This almost pathological pursuit of atomic truth became the first incurable psychological wrinkle in his life, and the sole armor with which he would later guard reality amidst chaotic times. By his 20s, he was already adept at judging the world's purity through mathematical balance. In that stone chamber filled with the scent of agarwood and logical gambits, he learned to use a gentle yet barbed wisdom to dissolve all academic hostility. He understood that prosperity is not a gift bestowed, but a sacred logic that grows naturally from an utter respect for the laws of nature. If his early self-study was a tempering of will, then his decision to propose a statistical interpretation of entropy during the universe-shaking battle for the atom was the practical validation that pushed probabilistic aesthetics to its zenith. In that endgame concerning order and disorder, determinism and randomness, fate dealt him the heaviest and most perilous stakes. Overturning all prevailing macroscopic energetics of the time, he resolutely transformed his searing intuition into an ultimate intellectual journey, replacing endless phenomenal guesswork with exhaustive rational calculations. In those deep nights so quiet only the sound of a pen upon paper could be heard, through extremely precise accounting of molecular motion and system microstates, he issued silent orders that stabilized the thermodynamic order. This mode of transition had no gunsmoke, yet amidst an era restless with ideological strife, it forged power into an intellectual long march walking on the edge of conscience. He would often patrol the inner domains of his mind at night. Upon discovering a definition of entropy off by a hair, he would without complaint demand a reweaving of destiny's drafts, as if he were not searching for a physical constant, but sculpting a precision-logical timepiece dedicated to history. At that moment, Boltzmann was the most lucid and loneliest artisan on the European continent. Accepting all of Mach's mockery with silence, this extreme focus made him like a marble clock tower, solitary and looming, yet unshakable. To the wise, the pinnacle of power often manifests as the penetration of truth. Ludwig Boltzmann gradually realized that when he ultimately attained the hollow title of Father of Statistics, amidst the expansion of civilization, what he gained was not merely a professorship, but a nihilism that saw through the rise and fall of all things. In his college stone room, filled with the fragrance of amber and stacked with comparative manuscripts of ancient Greek mathematics, he silently observed the details of scholars who had once promoted or betrayed him. He discovered that those scientific ideals, once so grand as to be arrogant, appeared fragile before the tides of time, a fragility more potent than any divine oracle. This transition from debater back to watcher was fraught with intellectual struggle, yet it imbued him with a nearly transparent, cool serenity. He began returning more frequently to his academic origin. In that secret chamber sounding only with the friction of an oil lamp, he began recalibrating those physical codes he had memorized countless times. In his final reflections he noted, "I once thought I was building an edifice, now I find I am merely searching, amidst the desolate gaps of memory, for an intersection that allows the soul to cease its fall." This expansiveness, born from seeing through the transience of material ambition, became his hardest armor in his final hours, allowing him to face the impact of the emerging quantum theory and the curtain call of his era with the equanimity of a setting sun sinking into the sea. Ludwig Boltzmann's final days were spent in an extremely solemn silence, imbued with a sage's luster. It was the eve of a dawn where the gods, the classical authorities, were gradually receding. The fine rain of Duino fell soundlessly, washing the stone steps into a translucent, somber gray. By now, the physicist's body had become extremely light from years of melancholy. His once majestic formal suits now hung loosely upon his frail skeletal frame, or rather upon a will that had almost become a shadow. He understood that the age of reason belonging to the classical order was approaching its end along with his increasingly heavy, slow breathing, and he, this witness of order, would subsequently be buried within the dust of legends. In his final conscious moments, rejecting the suggestion to return to Vienna for final honors, he requested the spirit wind carry him to that terrace overlooking the distant horizon, to one last time hear an inner tide belonging to him alone, without an audience. He closed his eyes, and with those hands that had held myriad pen tips and caressed 10,000 star charts, he traced an arc of completeness across his chest for the last time. At that moment, no city bells chimed. The late wind carried away the great hermit's final sigh. He left no vast family fortune, but left only this searing, conscientious wisdom that spans a century, the heaviest fragment of a dream left to the world. His fading was like a magnificent concerto, entering its final diminuendo, marking the official close of that era in physical ideals known as the rational dawn, amidst an exceptionally steady echo. Even today, a century after his passing, Ludwig Boltzmann's name remains the sole sanctuary for many insomniac seekers in the deep night. When people gaze upon that iconic marble tombstone in Vienna's central cemetery, inscribed with $K\log W$, it is as if they can still feel an old man whispering by the dying lamp of reason in that damp, ancient night of the 19th century. He teaches us that even if the entire world besieges you with turmoil, even if your era is destined to collapse, the order of your inner heart is still governed by your perception of truth. He was one of the few in physics who truly transcended common sense and prejudice, maintaining absolute lucidity within absolute shadows. The capitals of Sargon have crumbled, the islands of Napoleon have sunk, yet Boltzmann's serene sentinelship over truth crosses the boundaries of geography and time, living within every soul that yearns for reality and the unknown. His life was a long cultivation in the deconstruction of glory, an intellectual long march seeking sacred rhythm amidst a cluttered world. Ludwig Boltzmann's story thus slowly gathers inward amidst the gradually weakening tidal sounds of time. We are accustomed to idolizing heroes who stand on high platforms waving like gods, yet we often overlook the artisans in the corners mending their ideals alone. He was never an opportunist performing for fame, he was an utterly exhausted soul who consistently refused to compromise with mediocrity. He teaches us that no matter how trivial your life may be, no matter your predicament, inner tranquility is your sole and eternal sanctuary. May the serenity and vastness of Ludwig Boltzmann transform into the softest feather in your dreams, carrying you toward that quietest and most boundless shore of the heart. Good night, and may good dreams always be with you.